Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the show this week. I'm so excited to share this one with you and to be here with you today. I enjoy every single episode that I record. I hope that you can feel that and see that and experience that through the screen or through your speaker or whatever, however you're experiencing this. But sometimes I talk to someone brand new and it's extremely special. And that is what happened today. You probably already saw by the title, like you already knew this was going to be one cool episode, but you're not ready for the twists and turns this one is going to take. It was just, all I can say is it was magical. So we haven't before had a supply seller on the How to Sell Your Stuff podcast. And as you probably know, on Etsy, you can sell a handmade good that you make or that you design and have another company make. You can sell vintage items that are 20 years or older. Print on demand also kind of counts as the handmade because you were the designer of whatever went on the item that's being printed on demand. You can sell digital files for download, and you can sell supplies for other makers. And that is what our lovely guest, Seja Brumley, sells on Etsy. And I'm very excited because we haven't had a supplier, as I said before, and she has one heck of a story. I think the supply niche is really interesting. And now I'm super curious to talk to a few other supply sellers and hear their stories, because hers has just been, it really opened up other doors for your business to grow beyond Etsy in a way that not every single niche is as naturally inclined to do that. Let me tell you a little bit about Seja. She graduated from Indiana University with a business degree in 1998 and worked in corporate America for 16 years. When she opened her first Etsy shop, it was a jewelry shop in 2007. And then she opened her current shop, Aura Supplies, in 2011. She was able to leave her corporate job in 2014 to focus on her Etsy shop full-time. As of today, she's just passed over $2.4 million on Etsy. She and her husband have 2 teenage daughters, and they live on their farm in Bloomington, Indiana, where they have cattle, ducks, and a very silly rescue potbelly pig named Penelope. We need to follow her to see Penelope, among other things. Folks can see her shop on Instagram at Aura Supplies and her personal life and farm Instagram at Seja Brumley. And I will have all of that linked, of course, with everything else. I love that she shared it there, though, so that you can hear. And we're just going to have a wonderful conversation about her journey. She's an OG Etsy seller, and the lessons she's learned along the way. But her delivery and her thoughtfulness and her process it's really precious. So I'm excited for you to hear her story and learn from her with me today, because I learned a lot from this one. So please help me welcome Seja to the podcast. Yay! Hi, Seja. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited. And I haven't told you this yet. This is kind of fun. I just, in the last week, had someone reach out to me on Instagram, and they were like, hey, could you maybe get someone on who sells supplies, like from that end of Etsy, because you've never had a show on that. I'm like, you're right, I haven't. Let's make that happen. And then I see your application and it's just kismet. So I'm super geeking out. Thank you so much. This is going to be so fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm super, like I said, you're lovely, and your podcast. I just found your podcast a few months ago, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I felt like I needed kind of a refresh. I'd been doing this for a long time, and it's been so enlightening. And Kelly, the gem woman that you had on a few shows ago, she's the one that inspired me to send in my application. So props to Kelly, because I was like,
gosh.
yeah, I loved her episode.
She is like OG. Like she's been around longer than, like, I'm excited she's moving into coaching because she's got some real wisdom for the physical product space. So yes, Kelly, if you're listening, we're sending you love. That's amazing. But also say, I need to understand after making $2.4 million on Etsy, why you need to listen to this podcast. Like you should be, do you want it? I feel like I should just give you the podcast. Like, tell me, how is this? Tell me more.
Well, I think it's just, well, thank you. You're very kind. But I just feel like after you do something for so long, it's always good to kind of be refreshed with new blood, like just to listen to how are people doing things now as opposed to when I started so long ago. I mean, I had a previous shop, like my first Etsy shop was in 2007. Like it was like Etsy was brand new. I had a little finished jewelry shop.
What?
I know. It was just a tiny finished jewelry shop. And it was just that was like in the very new days. And so I feel like I've just been in it for so long, and technology has also changed so much. I feel like I sound old when I say that, but I just wanted to know what people are doing now, and things like a lot of the things that you talk about, like, digital images and just what are some of the new trends? So I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I can listen while I work, as you know, the typical like Etsy worker, right? I can listen while I work.
It's the best. I feel like it's even changed a lot since 2020. So I can imagine since 2011, but like press pause for a second. You need to know one of my very best friends in the whole world. Interestingly, her name is also Andrea. And we call her Dree. And she's obsessed with everything Finnish. Like she goes to Finland every year. She's she's an amazing massage therapist. She runs an incredible spa up in Woodruff, Wisconsin, which is where we spend our summers. Yes. So come visit because it's not too far from you. But she has a gorgeous sauna, cold plunge.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. She just got a puppy she named Kiwi, which is Finnish for rock or stone. So sorry guys, I just went off on a tangent. But you said Finnish and nobody gets why I care about anything Finnish.
It's all it's beautiful design.
But there's something about the Finnish people that is striking.
Yeah, I agree. I'm an admirer from afar, but I love all the design as well. So so that's how I started, and then it morphed into this. But yeah, so I love learning the new things. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm excited that you're still getting the value, and it'll be really interesting to see if down the road you spin off into some of the newer, like any of the print on demand or digital things, because you're so ingrained in the supply side. Which
I am. It's a lot of
physical. So tell me, but Seja, before Etsy, Seja, what is your story? Like, where do you come from? What did you do? How did this happen?
Right. So I graduated from Indiana University with a business degree in 98. And I'd always made jewelry, like the bead shops, that kind of thing. And I'd always done it on the side. But, I was raised, you go to college, you go to business school, you get the corporate job. And I actually worked in pharmaceutical sales for like 16 years. 15
That's the opposite of your vibe, Seja. That's the opposite.
No, it was total square peg, round hole.
Oh my gosh.
The whole time I did it, and I had wonderful coworkers, and I enjoyed the freedom. It was a very freeing industry to work in. But I always loved jewelry. And when Etsy popped up, I was like, well, maybe this is like a little side thing I could just do, like not even to really make money, just to have fun. Because it had been very ingrained in me that creative pursuits were not for money making. I had that.
Oh, yes.
Like it was not like that's for fun on the side, but then you have this job that's 401k benefits, all of that. So I was like, it's purely on the side. And so I had that little shop, and I did that for a while I was still with the company that I was working for. And then I guess, should I start to transition into like,
keep going? I need all of it. Like, I'm so excited.
So I was making jewelry, and I went to a gem show. This Intergem is what it's called. And if for anybody who makes jewelry, maybe you've heard of Intergem shows. And so there was one up in Chicago, and I would go up there like twice a year to buy stones and findings and chain and so on. And I developed some relationships with some of the vendors. They were the same people that would come. They would basically travel the United States. And so I would see the same people every 6 months to buy these supplies. And there was this sweet couple, and they said, Seja, they would always give me hugs, see them, it would be great. And they would say, what year was it? I think it was 2011. They said, Seja, we know you sell on Etsy and we're going to restart selling our gems on Etsy and we need someone to kind of help us. Would you want to help? And so that's how it started. It was at a gem show and I was like, I'll totally help you sell your gemstones on Etsy. And so the name literally popped into my head. It was called Aura Supplies. I didn't even know. It just was very organic. And so I started off selling gems. I bought chain from another supplier that was next to them at the gem show. I bought things here and there. And I decided I was going to make this Etsy store that sold supplies because I had such a hard time finding things. I would go here to buy this. I would go here to buy this. And some of the things were all scratched up and I just made do. Anyway, so I started the shop that way. And then it has transitioned into what it is now, which is basically metalsmith, hand cut, sterling gold fill, and solid gold items to other makers. I hope that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. But how did this turn into you like literally being able to leave your job in pharmaceuticals? Like that's crazy. Like how did that go? Was your start really, did you start selling right away? Was there a learning curve? Did you learn enough from the jewelry store that it just was easy? Like also, I know I'm just giving you 20 questions, but is that couple still selling on Etsy? Like what happened?
Right. So that couple is no longer selling on Etsy. They decided, so I had some of their stones, and then they decided that they were just going to create their own website. So we did it together for a while. And even though their stones were selling, they wanted something with their whole inventory. And they had millions of stones because they were from India, cutting them themselves. Like they were and they had, beautiful stones. I still touch base with them every now and then. They're still wonderful, but they're like, we're going to do the whole website. I'm like, that's great. So we kind of parted ways that way. I still buy from them for when I make jewelry with stones in it, but from their website. And so what happened so this is basically how I was able to leave my pharmaceutical job. So I had the supply shop and sales were trickling in. It wasn't, this was, 2012, 2013, sales were trickling in. It wasn't anything huge. And I had a couple of like sterling silver bars that I had purchased from another supplier that I was reselling. And I started getting messages from customers saying, I see you have this bar that's 26 by 3 millimeters. I need a bar that's 29 by 5 millimeters and I can't find it anywhere. And I was like, okay. And I started getting these messages and I was like, I couldn't find them anywhere either at that time. And I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. Well, my husband is a carpenter. He's really handy with tools. And he's like, there's got to be ways to do this. Of course, jewelers are cutting their own metal. A lot of them were using hand saws, but there's a whole range of tools. And basically, he and I rallied and we did a bunch of research like through calling jewelry companies at this time because YouTube, there were things, but it wasn't what it is now. And I started buying sheet metal from a supplier and I started cutting metal to size for people. So they were like, I need 100 bars in this size. I need 5 bars in this size. And then I think the breaking point is there was one woman who messaged me and she was like, I run this nonprofit jewelry company. We raise money, like we teach kids in high school how to make jewelry and then they sell it and it helps go towards their college education. And she's like, I need like 5 bars. I was like, that's great. I built a relationship with her. It started off with 5 bars and I would sell to her here and there. And she's like, Seja, the quality of your bars is great. Like there's no scratches. Because I also put like, I have a protective film on it that's kind of like, anyway.
Yes.
To keep it beautiful looking. And then what happened was she went to work for Magnolia, like in Texas.
She did not. You are blowing my mind.
Wow. So she took me with her. So then that's how the connections happen with Etsy is you can make. That's why I say to people who have reached out to me that I've mentored a few people that sell on Etsy. And I say, never ignore the smallest customer because they can lead you to
Joanna Gaines. I cannot.
Yes. Right. So for a long time, my pieces were on, the Magnolia website. It was crazy. And a few other big companies that people have heard of. I have some non-disclosure agreements, so I can't share a lot of them. But the way that it has formed, it's been like, I need 5 of these. And then, during the holidays, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces.
And you're still cutting them.
Well, so during the pandemic, I've always had a few employees. I only have one now, again, because we've scaled back and I've shifted other parts of the business to other people.
Yes.
But during the pandemic, everyone decided to open a jewelry business, which was amazing and wonderful. And I'm happy to support it. But I actually had 9 employees at that time. And that was ridiculous because I'm not a great manager. I'm a good maker. I'm a good metalsmith. I'm not a great manager. As far as if you don't want to come into work, I understand. But anyway, the people that did work for me were all wonderful. And it was like a natural thing. People went on to live their lives outside of the pandemic and so on. So anyway, it was great. It was wonderful and a good learning experience for me. And maybe it will grow again to having lots of employees, but I'm in a good place right now.
That's amazing. So yeah, I think for a lot of people, you can't compare today to what 2020, 2021 were. Mm-hmm. I think just e-commerce generally, it's not a reflection on Etsy. It's not a reflection on, it's simply, it was a rare time where people were looking for different outlets and we just can't expect it to be that. But Absolutely. We're still today in 2024, way ahead of where we were in 2019. And that has been a consistent growth. So
100%.
Hopefully that's been the same for you. I don't even know where to go from there, Seja. That is utterly bananas. I do have a question. I'm kind of curious about, okay, so I love how you found a hole in the marketplace, and rather than being like, no, I can't source that, that's not a thing, you found a way to meet that need. So today I would tell someone, so you go on Sales Samurai, you do a keyword search, and then you look at the related keywords and you look for the ones that have, so this is Micro Niche Magic Workshop. If you guys haven't taken it and you want to see how I do this, you find all these hidden opportunities where there's searches and there's not the listings for it. Just like Seja did, she created the thing, not to mention then created a custom listing. But then I love how you took it a step further and you're like, you know what? There's another need that's maybe not expressly, that's not super obvious, where there's a quality issue and things get scratched up and people have, so you also were like, I'm going to solve that problem too and put this film on it and just address basically what a negative review would have been on another account about a supply, and you got to learn from that and create it better. I love that. But how are you continuing? Because my guess is other people have caught on. Like, okay,
yes, absolutely,
people want this bar size. I'm going to create it too. And you've got competitors. How do you continue to develop your business and create new supplies and just meet new needs and stay ahead of all of that catching up with you?
Totally. It has shifted quite a bit. And so I've fluctuated into everything that's now I offer custom engraving. So I do that for companies. So I've gone into other markets and so it's been awesome just personally reaching out and not depending solely on Etsy for that, because you're absolutely right. I even have customers that I used to make for that have opened up similar companies like mine. And so it does totally happen. And so you look for new and different ways. So now I make just lots of engraved discs with tennis balls, soccer balls, and sell them to high schools for their gift shops or their little bookstores in there. Or so doing a lot more focused niche work. I know you talk
micro
niches, absolutely. And continuing to offer, I get a lot of requests for custom shapes still. And so being able to, if someone's like, I really want to be able to offer a bunny rabbit in sterling silver that's 13 millimeters wide by 9 millimeters high, I can easily do that for people. So
you then add it as a listing in your shop once you've created it and you're able to photograph it. Do you add it or not necessarily?
I usually do. Sometimes I don't, because it just depends on the amount.
Weird or rare, not weird, unique, custom. Yeah,
absolutely. And then I've used the background of the business then to look at my customers' pages and see what they're selling and look at ways what are they interested in and how are they marketing themselves, and then moving into those areas too where I can help supplement them. So I've noticed a lot of my customers have moved into solid 14 karat gold. So I offer a lot of items in solid 14 karat gold now that, before people would have looked at it maybe as being cost prohibitive, but now it's just there are less people doing that because they don't want to get into that because the cost of solid gold sheet is very expensive. And they're like, I really don't want to touch that. And I'm just like,
perfect.
why not now? Like,
I
just do
volunteer.
it. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it is being very fluid, and also like now there's a lot of new business in permanent jewelry. So now I'm sourcing a lot of chain and designing chain. So moving into new markets. So just paying attention to the trends. And you know what else, Lizzie? Like, I just have a really solid belief that if you are really good at what you do and you offer really high quality items, your business will always be solid.
Yes.
And if you follow the trends, absolutely. But there's a book that I read, Cal Newport, So Good They Can't Ignore You.
Yes, I'll link it. It's yep.
I just believe that if you, and I know this is more for handmade items, not so much for digital downloads, and maybe this quality comes in there as well. I'm sure it does in some. It does. Okay. But if you just are really dedicated to everything that we do as a craft, no matter what you are, whether you're an accountant or whether you're sitting at a bench with a torch, like whatever you do as a craft. And if you consider it that, I think people will always pay attention to what you're doing.
The true entrepreneurial spirit.
It's been a journey. It's been fun. I've loved it.
If you guys haven't jumped onto the Everbee bandwagon yet, this is your sign to check it out ASAP. If you haven't heard of it before, Everbee is a free tool that can help you find trends, products, and niches that are hot sellers on Etsy right now. I personally use it in tandem with Sales Samurai because they do totally different things. And I literally don't think I could compete in the current Etsy marketplace today without it, or help you guys as effectively. Everbee gives me so much information that I can't glean just from studying Etsy. All you need is a laptop or desktop. You can't do it on your phone, so you do need a laptop or whatever, a Google Chrome browser, a quick install of the Everbee extension. And for my tech challenge friends, I promise you it's super simple. And then you will gain access to a whole new world of data about your niche and competitors. So this is a tool I use every single day for my own Etsy shop research, for coaching calls that I do with you guys all the time, for shop reviews I do for you guys all the time. And just as I work on growing my personal mastery of Etsy, these tools have become so instrumental in getting the results that I do. And I mean, I can still use my old school tactics. I still use them, but I don't use them alone anymore because it's a whole different ball game. So these guys have just been a game changer for me. I use Everbee to learn everything about bestsellers and high performing listings. It shows me, okay, I'm going to give you a rundown. It shows me how many sales a shop makes from each listing. I can see how many they've sold of it, how much money that listing has made them or is earning them every month, how old the listing is, like how early did they get on that trend, what their tags are and how competitive those tags are. It gives me an at a glance view of all the shop data, which sometimes I can't otherwise find, and like the competitor listing data that I need to help my students and myself find ways to penetrate the market. So like I said before, Etsy has a totally free version, like not just a free trial. There is a free version so everyone can get access to it. Down in the show notes, I have a link to their site for you so you can check it out. And I also included a quick YouTube tutorial to show you exactly how I use it because sometimes like the barrier to entry is trying to figure out new technology. So I got you. Just go watch. It's a quick video. It'll show you how to navigate it. So if you don't have it yet, get Everbee, jump on that today. I'm so excited for you to get this edge on the market. You're going to love it. It's a game changer. So before I start asking more about like some of your, keys to success, lessons learned, that kind of thing, which I'm very curious to hear because you're in such like you have to move so much volume to be in the supplies. It's very interesting to me. But at some point in your story, you also navigated off Etsy and created your own website. I believe I got that right. Are you on?
Yes.
So what platform do you use?
I use Squarespace.
Do you? Okay. Usually I hear Shopify. You use Squarespace. When did that happen and how did that happen?
So when that happened, so this is another interesting thing. So when that happened was probably 2018. And I used Squarespace mainly because I'm trying to remember. I think I just felt like more at ease with Squarespace than Shopify for some reason, but I've heard great things.
2018 would have been bigger Squarespace vibes. Yeah, I feel like too, that timing,
Absolutely. And so I set up that website mainly for a lot of the corporate wholesale customers that wanted to go there. And I know Etsy has caught on with this, but through wholesale purchasing. So no taxes are charged. there. And so I have all of their wholesale documentation, and we can talk about that at any time, but I keep all of that documentation on file so that, the government has never knocked on my door, knock on wood, but so if I have their documentation, then I can sell to them wholesale. And so that website makes it very easy.
We just did this wholesale episode. Ellison was amazing. And we didn't talk about that. So you're saying that when people buy wholesale, they don't have to pay sales tax?
Correct.
Is that like, nobody, this is like not, this is just for educational purposes. She's not a legal or tax advisor. But you're absolutely going to take care of you there. And then too, we all know no one wants to get hurt here. But is that everywhere? Is it just in the United States or?
So that's a good question. So, no, there are taxes charged. So no one internationally buys off my website off of Etsy. Okay. Any international sales that I've had have come through the Etsy website. I do have one customer in Estonia, ironically, and I do invoice her, and it is complicated as far as the VAT, like the VAT. There are taxes that are collected there. But in the United States, if you have wholesale documentation and you as a wholesaler collect that documentation, so their federal ID number, the EIN, it's proof that they don't pay sales tax. And Etsy has forms that people can go on and fill out and have on file, but it just made it easier off of Etsy for that portion of the business because so for example, here's a learning lesson. So the first time someone came to me on Etsy and said, well, I'm wholesale, I don't pay tax, I refunded their sales tax, thinking that Etsy had it covered, but they did not. You have to go through Etsy, and Etsy removes the sales tax. Yeah, so right. I lost like several $100s that way pretty quick.
Oh no, you only do that once.
Anyone who's listening there are ways on Etsy to become, for people to be wholesale.
But it's on their end. You don't do anything other than tell them to connect with Etsy about it.
Exactly. You as a seller have no part in it. It's the buyer's job to go on and become wholesale certified.
Look at you say a drop in the gold dust. I didn't know any of that stuff. I love it. Okay, so opened up the website. Do you do things like Google Ads or optimization or anything? Like, how do you drive traffic to your website?
So this is where, I know you just had an episode recently about mindset. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Like, I've never done any marketing.
Nice.
Like, I'm not saying it's all mindset. I'm just saying that I feel like, my Instagram is like for the business is like very like I post here and there. It's just been very organic. And I know that's probably abstract and maybe annoying even at times to hear. But I just feel like, when you are super stoked and excited about your business and there's just no doubts, it flows in. So so the website, I do have several customers that go there, but the ones that go there now, it's actually to make a purchase on there, it's password protected because I need your information as a wholesaler before you can buy.
So you even have things there trying to make it harder for people to buy, and
you can't even buy off the website unless you talk to me first because I don't collect tax. And so
this is Alchemy. Have you read that book? Alchemy.
I have. Absolutely.
What is his name? It's escaping me because I've got toddler brain.
I can't remember it either, but I know I do. I have read it.
I'll link it to you. That's one of my favorite books. That's Alchemy.
Yeah, right there. Alchemy. I should actually write that down because I need to read it again. But
oh my gosh, it's so good.
I feel I've been very. I mean, I'm grateful every day. Truly.
It sounds like for you, a lot of it is people have found you on Etsy and you've built relationships, and over time it has moved into wholesale opportunities and things like that have naturally led off of Etsy. And you guys know, if you've been here, just in case you haven't been here a long time, I always encourage you start on Etsy, you get really good at what you do, you learn the basics because they're going to send you the traffic so long as you're selling something that is in demand and you have positioned it well. Once you start making sales though, you need to start building your email list, because if at some point the competitors come in and the drop shippers undercut you, or Etsy decides to suspend your shop because the wind is coming from the west, or something else happens, you want to have an email list so that you can contact your customers and be able to rebuild your brand. And then you ultimately want to build your own website. so that you can then from your email list direct people to get a better price and then become your customer instead of Etsy's. So that is what Seja has brilliantly done, only she's also done it on the wholesale without even needing fair or anything like that. Honestly, all right, Miss Pixie Dust, I don't even know. Tell us, because I know you've got some notes and I don't want to miss them. Tell us some of your like keys to success. You've already said some of it. Like, thank you for reiterating the importance of mindset, because I can't tell you how many people skip those episodes or blow them off because they're like, the woo woo. And like, I get it. I like tactical strategy too, but you can tactically strategize your life all day long. And if your attitude sucks, it's not going to get you anywhere. I'm sorry, I'm feisty today.
No, I love it. It's true.
So tell us I love you guys so much. I'm not judging anybody, I promise. I'm obsessed with y'all. Tell us your keys to success though. What are your thoughts on that?
The keys to success. So I really do think, especially on Etsy and any platform where you're doing any messaging with customers, I mean, customer service and who you are in the messaging environment, I guess, I just feel like it makes a huge difference. People will message you and you may think, like I mentioned earlier, well, it's just one. They just want one item. Or, I mean, I've absolutely had a time where I had an order and it did not look good, especially like it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, like something. And they messaged me like off the hook, like angry. Ooh. And before you respond, you just need to like take a breath, compose yourself, and be like, this person is coming from a place. Of course, they opened their mail. It wasn't what they thought. And that obviously hasn't happened many times, but there's just, and then so sometimes people will get the package and they'll see that like the disc has the film, but they don't know there's the film because they haven't like maybe read the little note. And so they'll think, oh, there's scratches. It's a mess. And I'm like, well, so it's okay. Like just have you tried to peel the film? And so just being, this may sound cheesy, but like loving in your messages, like just being like super empathetic and kind. And just, I've like, honestly, like I have customers who've honestly become dear friends.
Yes.
And some people who've like transitioned out of jewelry making, but I still talk to on the regular because we just developed that relationship just via Etsy messaging. Like,
I think it's so critical. So here's how I think about this. I love that you're bringing this up because again, customer service is another thing that people roll their eyes about. I am literally ooey gooey in every DM I send. And the reason is I don't want my customer ever thinking for a millisecond that I don't adore them, care about them, respect them, appreciate them. Absolutely. And I think of it like this. I think of it like, I don't want to send an ambiguous text.
Yes.
Think about when you get a text message or an email, like especially in a work environment, and you're like, ugh, there's so much attitude. And really it was just a statement like this, you did good work. And you're like, well, why wasn't it great? Well, why wasn't it perfect? You said I only did good work. And you're like, I complimented you. You did good work. And you're like, you want me to go to hell right now, don't you? Because you said I did good work. And I know that sounds silly, but like we do it. We do it.
There's no nuance in text. There's no nuance, right? You want to be over the top.
Yes, I am over the top. Even if I'm selling an 87-cent digital product, I am over the top. And not like where it seems fake or forced. In fact, you guys can, in my customer service templates that will be linked in like I think the sponsors even for this video or this episode, I have written out basically what I say so you can customize it to yourself. I just keep it so clear that I am like, thank you so much for coming. You know, there's just no ambiguity. So I love that you said that because then they read it and they're just like, they always assume positive intent and you don't get as many of the mad ones. And when someone is mad, I actually say, I am so sorry that it arrived like that. I can't imagine being excited about a shipment I'm going to get, opening it up, and I'm feeling disappointed because it's not what I expected. And I hate that you had that experience from my shop. I literally go that
totally,
Seja, because I'm like, and then what they do, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I thought you were going to blow me off. I can't even believe I heard back from you. Thank you. Okay.
Totally.
Thank you for taking care of me. And it just writes it. I'm talking too much, but it writes the shit.
Totally. And it's interesting that you bring that up. Like there was one order, it was semi nightmarish because it was my first time dealing with this, but I had an order that I think it was probably like around like $8,000.
Oh my gosh.
Shipping it. It was very big. And I was shipping it with all of the insured, like signature, all of the thing. And it just stopped at one of the transportation facilities. It just stopped. And I did form after form. And it just, I have no idea where it is to this day. And the customer messaged me and I was like, I'm so sorry. This is not your fault. And we remade the order and we resent it and it made it. And so did I lose money on that? I mean, maybe kind of, because there is still a markup with wholesale, but my point is that customer has been with me since 2012. And when you just realize that it all evens out, the arc of the business customer relationship, it just all evens out over time. And so think about it. If you placed an order for something for $8,000 from, let's say you bought something from Tiffany.
A couch, or something, I don't know.
And the couch never showed up. You would, of course, know that manufacturer, that retailer is going to handle it. And so I just handle my business like any other retailer. If something is lost, then it is not the customer's fault. You take care of it and you reship and you make sure that they get it, and it evens out over the time. And I do know that I realize that I'm fortunate in that a lot of my business is return business. I have a lot of repeat customers over the years. And so I understand if it's just a one-time purchase, but I tell you what, I just feel like in the ether of the universe,
yes,
when you do the right thing, it just always flows back to you. And I feel like that's just been a huge key to the success, that it's an abundant universe. Whatever flows out to you flows back in.
I love that. All right, guys, if you've been here for a bit, you've probably heard me say that if you want to beat saturation in the biggest Etsy niches, you've got to find a way in by using micro niches. So a micro niche is a smaller niche within a niche. So for example, the mom niche is massive, right? And if you get on Etsy as a new seller and try to sell a mom sweatshirt, you're probably never going to get found or even make a sale because the competition is just too crazy. But if you pare down to a micro niche, such as like a NICU mom or Catcher mom or Doxy mom, now you're onto something. You have a better chance of penetrating the market because there's still some demand. People are searching for those phrases, but there aren't as many sellers trying to compete in those micro niches. So how do you find them? How do you go about finding a micro niche? One main way that I find them is by using Sales Samurai, which is a third-party tool that gives me SEO clues, like big time. And you can see my YouTube tutorial to try it. There's like a 3-day free trial in the that's available in the show notes link if you like. Look at the video, get the trial, get the discount code. But I've also created for you a free list. I've done the research for you, and it's a list of 100 keywords in various micro niches that all have demand without crazy competition. And you can snag that also in the show notes if you want to get a sneak peek at what the data looks like and how where you can find some areas of opportunity that I have found in my constant SEO research. I hope it helps. And more importantly, I hope it inspires you to hunt for the micro niches because that is your ticket to crazy success on Etsy. What about like lessons learned? Or you could even approach that from if you have any funny stories, like mistakes. You've sort of just shared one. I can't believe I'd have like a $300 sign get lost and I'd be like repainting it and reshipping it. And then the day that I shipped the new one, they received the first one and I just wanted to cry. Yes. I can't imagine $8,000 order. Yeah.
Oh gosh, there have been we've had some snafus in the years that we've been in business like that. Gosh, so many lessons learned. I would say, so that's probably one of the biggest is just standing behind your product. If it is lost, you just have to remake it and reset.
It's your problem. Don't come to you can, but don't come to the Facebook group. Guys, what should I do? Take care of the customer. You're a business owner. Take care of the customers, what you do.
Absolutely. And so one big lesson learned, and you mentioned this just a couple of minutes ago, I ordered, even with wholesale, you want it to be an experience when you open the package. So I ordered this sweater from this beautiful clothing company in Europe not too long ago. It was a splurge for me. I had saved up for it. I don't do that all the time by any means. And when I received it, I opened up the box and it even smelled good. Like they had kind of done a subtle perfume on the package.
Oh my gosh.
And it was literally a whole experience. And so I learned from that. And so even selling wholesale, I have beautiful tissue paper. We buy lots of candy. And so candy we'll go in. If I think a customer might want dead soft metal instead of half hard metal, people may not know what I'm talking about, then I'll put in samples of that for them to try. Like, just like, I see you. I'm
thinking about you and
I'm
you
thinking
specifically.
about you. I know things about you. Try this item. And so I just feel like those are the things in life that make the work that we do so fun. And it's not all about the end outcome, right? I mean, what we're doing is a daily thing. And so it has to be fun. So I feel like, yes, like just making the packages fun, just making the experience fun for the customers. Like, I love it. I really do. I love it. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. I'm a people pleaser. So
Are you?
if you know anything about the Enneagram, my point is I love like, yeah, just kind of blowing people's expectations out of the water. And I think that also makes for a great business too.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm actually a 3.
Are you a 3?
Yeah.
I can totally see that. I love that.
I'm a 3, but I can flex people pleaser hard.
Well, yeah, you got a 2-wing or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what else there's so many things. We already talked about that. Well, can we speak? It's been a minute for you, but being a new seller, but I think it would be really fun to spend a few minutes on just what you would tell new sellers, like some of the tips, the wisdom that you would give them.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would probably tell them a lot of the things that people talk about on your show, as far as have beautiful photos. And I know that's not easy, especially in the jewelry world. Like, photos can be tricky.
Jewelry's hard.
Jewelry's hard. Jewelry's hard.
You've got to have a model. You've got to have a good photographer. You really kind of can't play with jewelry, especially because it's so competitive. It's one of those things where I'm like, this is one of those ones where you save your Starbucks for a few months and get a photographer.
Totally, 100%. So this is honestly what I would tell a new seller. So having the first jewelry shop that I had, and I mentioned to you that I had those beliefs that, like, creative businesses are not a way to make a living. I had that belief ingrained in me from a young age. You work hard, you grind it out. Creative pursuits are on the side. And
when did that break? Seja, we've got to talk about when that broke. I actually meant to ask you that earlier, because you must have really struggled with that moment of, I'm leaving my corporate job to actually go pursue this full time, and it's worked out really well, but I'm going against everything. Tell me about that.
Well, what's so interesting is when it broke is when I started Aura Supplies. So the first jewelry business was called Everbee, which is, B is my first initial, my middle last name. So I had this, and I just totally thought it was going to be, extracurricular. It was just going to be something fun to do on the side of working full time and being a mom and so on. And then when I started Aura Supplies, I literally had this, like, it was just a feeling in my belly. The day that couple brought it up to me, I was like, this could be a business. Like, it was a little bit of a zing feeling. And it wasn't about the outcome. It wasn't like, I'm going to get rich off of this.
I'm going to make $2.4 million on Etsy.
Well, it wasn't that at all, though. It really wasn't. It was like, it was just, and it wasn't like I didn't do it for, like, this is my end goal. It was literally like, this is like, have you ever heard of Ikigai?
I don't think so. It's not.
So it's IKIGAI, and it's got there's 4 circles, and where do they all intersect? And it's what we are good at, what the world needs, what can you be paid for, and what do you love? And when those 4 things intersect, that is like the thing. And even though I wasn't a great metalsmith yet, I was like, I just didn't have there was no block. And so what I would say to Etsy sellers, and maybe this is mindset again, maybe this is woo, and I don't mean to be, but I really do truly believe that if you have an unknown block, it will stifle you. It will, and even if you know it, like, I just knew that I was like, well, I can't make money making jewelry, but if I'm selling supplies and supporting other people's jewelry business, well, there's no block there. I could totally do that. And then boom, everything exploded. And I realized I could totally also have a very successful jewelry business, because I've just worked through that nonsense of, like, of that anything you can get paid to do anything, honestly. And if you just believe it, I know that sounds cheesy. Maybe it sounds cheesy and cliche, but, like, I just had a big block that you couldn't do anything creative and make business and have a successful business. But
Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, press pause because we've got to talk about this.
Okay.
Do you know how A, you figured out that was a block, and
Right.
B, how you busted it? Or was it just, again, it just happened because it was,
Right.
I use that word twice in one episode.
No, I'm with you. No, so I didn't realize it was really truly a block to being a business until Aura Supplies was making the money that it was. Because I didn't have I was just curious about it. Like I was just curious about Aura Supplies. I was like, I wonder if I do this, then maybe that could make, I'm not that I even wanted to make money. I was like, this is fun. But then it got to the point where I was working in pharmaceutical sales from 8 to 5 p.m., making dinner, taking my girls to soccer practice, coaching their soccer teams, putting them to bed at 9 p.m. This is ridiculous when I tell you this. We were living in the trailer. So what I haven't mentioned on this podcast is we bought a farm during all of this time. We lived in a trailer. I was literally polishing metal on the floor in the bathroom in my trailer from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And I did that for 3 years. And I was like, this is awesome. Like people are like, and it just exploded because I just was like, there's nothing. I was like, this is just so silly that I held this belief that like that I can't do anything. And so maybe there was part of it that I didn't think it was 100% creative. There was part of me that saw it more as like a supportive business for others in a way.
Hello, number 2 on the Enneagram. Well, I think when I listen to what you just said, I've got a lot of background in like emotional intelligence and inner healing and things like that. And if there's something I've learned, it's one of the most underrated things because I'm very interested in neuroplasticity and attitude and the control we actually have over a lot of our life and how much it has to do with the way we've allowed, not just things also happen to us, but the way that our brains are wired and that we can take control over that and we can change them. We can't 100%. Change the circumstances but we can rewire trauma and things like that. I'm a living example.
That's awesome.
But what you said, and in those practices, the superpower is gratitude, is finding a place of immense gratitude, no matter what's going on, whether you're just grateful for the blades of grass, whether you're grateful for the air in your lungs, you're grateful because you get to watch your goldfish swim in its tank and it hasn't died this week, whatever it is.
Right.
But what you said that I think is so underrated is that I personally think that curiosity is just as powerful as gratitude.
100%.
So when you said to me, I was just curious, I was like, well, of course, then everything got busted because you kept you weren't being judgmental. You weren't being harsh. You were being open and curious.
100%.
And then it allowed positive things to happen. The sales started coming in. And I love this because it's not woo. The data showed you it would work. You could
100%.
scale it.
Totally. A hard example of it is this. I had a block that I could have a successful, expansive jewelry business where my necklaces were hanging up in a store for sale. I did not have a block that the bar that I cut would be on a necklace hanging up in a national women's athletic apparel chain, but I do. Yeah. Because it was too specific. I could never come up with a block. If you get really specific, you can't come up with the block. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I didn't talk more about that. I think that's really key.
So if you can have a really general block, like I could never be so I'll go back to, I'll just keep using that necklace example. I went into let's take for example, Kendra Scott. I would be like, gosh, to build a Kendra Scott store or a Seja Brumley store, a Seja jewelry store, I don't know if I have the creative expansiveness for this. It's a huge amount of cash flow you would need to open up a whole store with my jewelry, all of this. It's just the big, those ideas, it was just huge blocks with all of that. But when it got if I got really specific with well, I could take this item and put this item together and then this item over here. And there's no block for that at all because my mind just never went there, if that makes any sense.
Well, for me, it makes complete sense. And like literally parts of my life are clicking together as you're talking. But I have to imagine, this is like one of my favorite episodes ever. I hope everyone else is losing it as much as I am. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's so interesting. So like you could even approach it analytically if you're not as much of a woo person, and you could just be like, how can I piece this together? And instead of it being like, oh, I'm not sure, to oh yeah, that's easy. I could do that. Like
100%.
Yeah.
And even if you want to take it, like let's say you are I know you've had customers, and remind me of the terminology, but like the like if people make t-shirts or sell images on t-shirts.
Yeah, print on demand.
Print on demand. So let's say someone may have a block of like, well, I couldn't make a living selling t-shirts. And you have a block for that. But you know what? I have a customer. This is an actual customer who I used to make for. They've transitioned more into apparel. They had the block of like, well, maybe I can't sell 1,000 shirts. But they did not have a block that Bucky's retail chains would reach out to them and be like, we want to sell all your shirts.
I love Bucky's. Okay.
Right? But she does that now. That's what happened to her. So she didn't have
that feel easier to her. That's so interesting to me.
I know.
Our brains are wacko.
Right. So if you get specific, I mean, it was mind-blowing for me the day that I walked into that store in that mall and saw the things that I cut hanging up on there while I was buying my cropped exercise leggings. But I didn't have a block that could happen, because why would I ever think of that? I would never think of that, ever. So be open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Gosh, I love it when it goes off the rails like this. It's so cool. All right. So new sellers, mindset and blocks. And
I would say one other thing I would say to new sellers is don't go into it for the end goal of just having a passive income where you don't have to do anything. And I get it. I understand having that goal. And I think it's a beautiful goal to go after a lifestyle. But I will say that having, like, I know you've had, like, there are going to be days where the sales don't happen. And so there are, like, when I was on my bathroom floor polishing metal, if I just looked to the day when I could be done, it would be long days, very long days. And so I'm not saying don't have that as your goal, I guess, but I would say love your work and have a zing in your belly when you start.
Stay curious.
Stay curious. And so don't be like, oh, I found this one industry where I won't have to work. You could also be like, if you get a zing, if that makes any sense, if you get an internal zing in your body that you're like,
Marie Kondo proves it makes sense. It's
absolutely. If you get an internal zing, then go after it, I would say. So maybe not so much not doing it, like not going something for the outcome, but I just feel like our lives are happening every day. And if we're just doing things to get to that day in the future, like, doing the work.
I think it's really hard to survive long term. I'm still learning this. I mean, no judgment, but to anybody, but right. I think that if you want to be in the entrepreneurial grind long term, in addition to curiosity, you have to be in today. You can't just be living for tomorrow when you hit your goals. I'm really, really guilty of that.
Oh, me too. Oh, no, I've been there, sis. No, I totally get it.
But you need to find, I know it's cliche, but you need to find joy in the journey. You need to at least be, have some aspect of it where you're learning something new. So you're excited because you're getting to feed your brain that way. Or if you're the kind of person who's maybe a 2, maybe it's like all about those really precious reviews, or when people reach out and tell. I recently coached someone where her whole business is she makes jewelry from ashes of babies that were lost.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, honey, I have so much respect for you. I couldn't do this. I would be in a mental institution. And kind of like a nurse or someone who works in like end of life hospice care or something like that. You've got to be a special kind of person, a kindergarten teacher. Shout out to Jenny from the shop. I'm just saying, like, you've got to be a special kind of person. But maybe that's your personality where it's, yes, you have goals and goals are great and you're working towards something and you have a lifestyle in mind, but you're able to cling to something that's right now.
Yes. 100%.
Grounding yourself in today. That's it.
Yes. And I totally get the person that is like, well, I do want it to be passive because I want to focus on my kids. I want to focus on my
Yes.
life at home. And I 100% get that. I was shooting for that with this business as well. And I was able to get there to a certain point. I feel though that like, I don't know. I think that there's just something about, and I mean, passive businesses are beautiful and wonderful as far as the lifestyle they can give you. And it's good to also be diverse. Like if you can have more than one business too, you can like shake things up. I just feel like there is something wonderful about not living for a day.
Always the future. Always a day in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If you get the zing while you are going after the passive business, then do it.
And I'm a huge fan of passive income streams. I don't really think any of them are completely passive unless you're literally just investing.
Right.
But finding ways to leverage, I think, is amazing. And in a way, you did that with employees, and you did that with finding other partners and whatever.
Right.
So no shade to anybody on that. Okay. Seja, we recently started a new tradition where the last guest, which P.S. those of you who are listening now, I totally forgot to ask Hannah or do that with her at all. So we skipped Hannah, and that's fine. Hannah's special. But Seja, I have a question for you from the person 2 episodes ago, actually.
Okay.
Maybe Kelly, Bren Burke, which is cute because I think it is, who left this question. I don't usually reveal the 2 and the who and whatever, but that's cute because you loved hers. So she left you a question and she said, what is one piece of advice you wish you knew when you were at the very start of your Etsy journey? Like if you could have had one thing told you beforehand in the beginning.
I think I would probably talk to that young woman who was like sitting on the bathroom floor and be like, this is going to be something amazing one day. Like if I had a piece of advice to anybody, it would be like, oh gosh, like just what it could grow into. You have no grasp of it. Like the avenues that your business can take that you don't see coming. Like I had no idea that I would have jewelry parts in these stores that I've been into. I had no idea I would have, people would send me ideas for jewelry and then I would manufacture them that they move on to sell or on the Magnolia website. I have no idea that we'd be able to, our life would change because of this business. And women are so capable. I know that I'm sure you have men that listen, but just that you're so capable to do things that you're maybe not confident in right now, but the confidence, it just grows. And I just would want to put my hands on their shoulders and just tell them like, you can be such a boss. You can be such a boss. It's amazing what owning your own business can do for you. And just don't shortchange yourself. Like you can kill it more than you ever dreamed.
I just feel like we should cut to like that.
I don't know. I love entrepreneurs. Like people are solving problems and just making a ton of money while they do it and doing good things for the earth and the people they love with the money they're making. I just feel like I don't know.
It's Etsy. It's so cool.
Etsy, yeah.
Where can people find you and connect?
Well, gosh, the main thing, so Aura Supplies is my shop on Etsy. I have a small Instagram. Honestly, I'm on there maybe once a week, guys. Aura Supplies, just AURA Supplies, all one word. And then if you want to see me doing farm life, and I write some things on Seja Brumley, SEJA Brumley on Instagram.
Did you send me that link? I know you're following me from there, but I want to make sure it's with the notes.
I think so.
Okay.
I think you did.
Okay. I suggest you be on Instagram more the week that this drops.
I really need to pick it up.
I just mean to see the DMs and stuff that will be in your waiting for you folder.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Seja, I love you.
You're the coolest. This has been so fun.
I feel like I've met a soul sister today.
I love it. I feel that too.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your work and what you've shared and your generosity in sharing. But thank you for the person that you've made yourself to be.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much. It's been a journey.
You haven't talked about it at all, but you've done a lot of work.
Well, I'm happy to support anyone who wants to do wholesale. Like if you have any questions or like if anybody does, like I'd love to support other people if they want to do anything like I'm doing.
I'm getting so many wholesale questions lately after Allison's episode. It's almost like we need to do like a wholesale panel. Could be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
So we have to keep
absolutely.
you in mind for that. Okay. Well, we're absolutely keeping in touch, but yes, thank you. And you guys, thank you for listening. I suspect this is going to be a fan favorite episode. I can already imagine there's something really special that happened here today. So thank you for sharing this time with us, this hour with us. And I appreciate you all so very much. I am your cheerleader. I'm in your corner. I am rooting for you and praying for you all day, every day. So I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. And in the meantime, go make something awesome. Bye, guys. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.